panic situation coming up to 10 o'clock.
Okay. My own motion in terms of 3039, that we reinstate residential as a use open for consideration under Z15 zoning objectives. Those in favour?
Yeah, Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, you know, if you look at the history of the Z15 and the number of actually developments over that, but at this stage I would be inclined to support your motion on Z15, but I would put the Council on notice that I would be supporting motion 3043 and 3044 that would actually put limits within on that motion. Which I think that Councillor Quinn has put down, which are extremely important, that if we do allow residential to be considered in Z15 for the security and comfort, that I will be supporting 43 and 44.
Point of order. 3043 and 3044 are separate motions. So they are okay. So then, yeah. So I have a motion 3041, which.
That's correct, but I'm just saying is that they are related, but this motion doesn't deal with them. So but the Chamber notice that those motions still stand if the Lord Mayor's motion is passed, and that we will have to vote on 43 and 44. I just think it's important that people in the Chamber realises that.
Councillor Perry.
Just to point out here, this is the third time now that the manager has attempted to override the democratic decision of the elected councillors in relation to residential options.
Sorry.
The motion down.
This is a democratic forum we're in.
This is the third time.
Sorry, Councillor Perry. We make the decisions.
This is
the manager is recommending something, and with view of that recommendation, this is the forum that we make the decision.
This is the third time that we voted on this.
Well, we can vote again.
Why?
Yeah. Because that's the process.
It's clear what the residents want.
Okay, we'll put it to vote. Do you want to continue?
Yes, I do. As we have previously said, it's not a function of this council to make provision for an increase in land values for private institutions. Again, a variation of the plan provides a perfectly reasonable method for any institution who are attempting to develop their lands for genuine reasons. A variation gives control of the process back to the elected councillors and provides for consultation with local residents. Do residents really want to see their green area blighted with the newly proposed high-rise masquerading as low-rise in this development plan?
Okay, Councillor McGinley and Councillor Collins.
Very briefly, this is a very particular issue which has quite fundamental implications for the provision of educational and social services facilities around the city. And what essentially, certainly in my motion, we're proposing to stay with the status quo, which has served us well, and those institutions which I'm aware of in my own area, whether it be Walkinstown, Crumlin, Drimnagh, Terranure, are all well serviced by such facilities. This particular point in time, in 2010, is a very dangerous time for many of these institutions, and certainly for us to be making any fundamental policy change. And these motions are about policy. Making any fundamental policy change is extremely dangerous, and I certainly would caution the members against that. And I'm glad to hear the support that there has been, but it is important that people understand that decisions have consequences, and certainly in terms of supporting the services that are currently being operated on these lands by the institutions, I am happy to accept the manager's recommendation in response to my motion 3041. Thank you.
Councillor Collins.
Again, I think it has been said that the councillors made a decision 3 times to take the residential out of the institutional lands zoning Z15. I would see, again, it's not the function of the council to start laying the basis of the price of property in the city. Today alone we've had residents from St Louis School appealing to the councillors not to vote and put residential into their zoning for their own land. And I cannot see what's the contradiction of these institutions looking for a variation to the local committee and to the City Council. That's the most democratic way to dealing with these issues, not to give a carte blanche into the zoning Z15. And I'd appeal to the councillors to reject the manager's report and vote against it.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. Councillor Lacey.
Well, Lord Mayor, I think we have a lot of different functions in relation to the adoption of the development plan, and I think one of our roles as councillors is to try and be fair to people. And I do believe we have a real responsibility in relation to the institutional owners and the religious owners, and it's not just today or yesterday I've been raising as at this council that it is something we have to do. However, making a blanket change in the development plan to deal with what I believe is quite a complex issue is not, in my view, the way forward. I think the owners of the institutional lands do deserve a better response than simply this blanket rezoning. I think the residents of the City of Dublin need and deserve honesty and clarity in relation to the development plan. There is a massive, massive distrust of the planning process out there amongst communities and in various residents' bodies. Whether that's deserved or not is in some ways immaterial, but there is a huge distrust. And I believe if we change the zoning for the residential or the institutional lands in this very simplistic way, we will only be adding to that distrust. So I'm going to vote against your motion tonight, Lord Mayor, but I do believe it is an issue that we absolutely have to come back to, because it is not good enough to keep on saying to institutional landowners that you can't use your land the way you want to, but we can't just have a blanket rezoning. So I'm reluctantly voting against this motion tonight, but I do believe we have to come back to it.
Councillor Heaney.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. I'd like to declare an interest. I have an aunt who's a nun in the Little Sisters of the Poor. I go to Mass on Sundays, and I was educated by the Dominicans. Lord Mayor, I think it's extremely unfair the way this matter has been dealt with at City Council level. I think on the one hand we're trying to say that we want to be fair, at least the previous speaker said that he and his party want to be fair. I think this, I have a motion down with others, motion 3040, Lord Mayor. I think it's extremely unfair that we're singling out institutional lands and owners of institutional lands as against other landowners in the city. I'm particularly concerned about the way the religious are being treated. I've also had correspondence from the Rehab Group, which is a registered charity, who are hugely concerned about the lands that they have in Roslin Park. They're an organisation that provide particularly individual housing schemes for individuals who could be autistic clients of Rehab Ireland, and I'm just very, very concerned that any decision that we would take to deny both the religious and indeed other charitable organisations to be able to realise the values of their properties in a situation whereby they may want to use their properties as collateral to obtain finance for various different...
Sorry, could we have some silence in the chamber for the speaker?
Thanks, Lord Mayor. I would just be concerned that we would try and take away any kind of or diminish any kind of value that these lands would hold for these organisations and institutions, whereby they have in the past and continue to provide very, very fine services and important facilities for members of our community. On that basis, Lord Mayor, I'm happy to accept the manager's report. I'm happy to support your motion, Lord Mayor, and also to accept the manager's report in response to my motion. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Councillor McAuliffe.
Lord Mayor, to be consistent with the way I voted on the Z9 zoning, I would not be able to support your motion. I believe that in considering the zoning of any lands, we should not consider that they increase or decrease the value. Should not be our motivation. Our motivation should be the good planning of the city. And there's no doubt that the reason these lands are zoned Z15 is because they are of particular importance, and they do occupy a particular importance in the layout of the city. I have heard lectures in this chamber on many occasions about the powers of councillors being ceded away, and yet here is an opportunity for councillors to be able to have influence and to be able to control the development of sites, of important sites in their area, and yet those councillors who lectured us on the ceding of powers are now willing to let them go. I would like to say at this point I am not against any residential development on these sites. These sites differ in many different ways across the city, and there may be occasions, in fact there may be the majority of occasions, in which I would vote for a variation to the plan to support a particular institution, to support a particular cause. But I do not believe that council should allow this opportunity pass where we can shape and control. So I am afraid, Lord Mayor, I cannot accept your motion.